Okay, so you've seen the 10 essential systems for online fitness coaches, and the fact that you're watching this video means you're probably nodding along thinking, yeah, I probably need at least one or more of these. Now, I'm not going to try to pitch you on all the systems here. That's not the job of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the way that we think about systems and what way I think that you should go about things when it comes to systemizing and kind of automating your business. So to do this, we're going to first go into the kind of core driving values of why we actually do things the way that we do. The first guiding principle that we use is automate, systemize, then delegate. Now, the reason that we do this is a lot of people fall into what we call the VA trap. An online coach, they'll get really busy and they'll start thinking, geez, I can't really do all of this stuff on my own. What do? I'm going to go get a VA. So they then hire a VA. The VA says, yeah, what do you want me to do? They say, I want you to do all of these things. The VA says, well, how do I do these things? You say, oh, well, I do this, this, and this. And then they carry on doing it. Now, the problem is, not only have you just created a bigger problem, you haven't solved the original problem itself. The original problem was that when you were doing something, should you have even having to be do it? Is it systemized? Is it the most efficient process? And now, not only is there two people doing the same thing, the same inefficient way, but you're actually paying them to do that then as well. So that's why we kind of followed this process. And I'm going to walk you through this with some examples. The golden rule with the automate is we want to automate anything that doesn't have to be done by a human. Then we want to systemize what does have to be done by a human. And then we can delegate what we don't want to do anymore that has already been systemized, and you have to do it in that order. So let's run through some examples. So the first thing, things that we might automate that doesn't actually have to be done by a human is like, you might do check-in reminders. You might do like lead tracking. It might be like sending forms and contracts and stuff like failed payments. Now, what would you actually systemize? What would you create a process around? Well, that's going to be stuff like this. So like, you might do programs so that you have an SOP for creating programming, plus you start to actually build a library. You might have stuff like check-in replies. Now, when I mean check-in replies, I don't mean like automated. I mean have a system for this is how we give check-in feedback to be the most efficient with the actual feedback so the client gets the most out of it. We're not automating the actual check-ins. And then what can we actually delegate then? So you could actually delegate the programming. But we can only delegate the programming after we have already done the automating and the systemizing of the stuff so that they're going to have a systemized SOP and library to be able to do the programming from. And that's the reason that we follow that kind of a process with that. So you can do this for all sorts of stuff in your business, but you have to follow that process first. Now, the second guiding principle that we use is we don't build disingenuous automations. Now, what I mean by that is if you paid me to work with me, and I said, yeah, you're working with me, dude, and you're contacting me. And then it let slip at some stage that you weren't actually contacting me. You were contacting an AI, and it was the AI that was responding to you and stuff like that. You'd feel pretty shitty about it. You'd be like, yeah, fuck you, dude. So we don't build automations and AI to pretend to be us and trick people. We can build automations and AI to help us reply to people and give us more data and give us more context, but we never try to replace the actual human-to-human connection because at the end of the day, that's kind of what people are paying you for. It's the human-to-human contact. So we can automate all the other stuff that will allow us to have more of that time itself. Okay, so we know that we need to automate, systemize, and then delegate, but what does that actually mean? Like, how do we actually go about this? Well, this is where the automation matrix comes in. So let me show you on the tablet. This is the matrix that we use to decide what happens with every single task in the business when we're working with clients. So you'll see here on the y-axis, we have the value to the client. So at the bottom here, we have low value. At the top, we have high value. Now, every single bit in your business, it is somewhere along that line. Then here we have time. So we have low time, and then we have high time. So every task is going to fall somewhere in between here. And then depending on where it falls, we're either going to automate it, we're going to systemize it, we're going to delegate it, or we're going to keep it exactly the way it is. And we're not actually going to do anything with it. And then the only way to figure all this out is to actually go in, look at the task, and then from there, plot it on the graph somewhere. And then we're going to be able to see what to actually do with it. So let's run through some actual examples of this right now. So we'll use onboarding as an example. Okay, so the first thing, taking payment, it does not take a lot of time. It's high value. We are going to keep that. So we'll put this here in number 1 and we'll keep that. creating a client record in a CRM, this kind of stuff, it can take a bit of time, but it's not actually that high value a task. So we'll put it somewhere around here. Then sending the welcome message. This is something that like it's valuable to the clients and doesn't take a lot of time for yourself. So I would actually say we'll probably put this here. The next one then, inviting to the community. Like there's no reason for you to be doing any of this kind of stuff. Sending and signing the contract, again, no reason for you to be doing that kind of stuff. Then you have the collecting the training and nutrition intake. Again, if you were to collect all that data and send out those forms, it is more time wasted. It's not actually that valuable. 7, we would be somewhere in there as well. 8, building the training app accounts. It doesn't take that long, but I don't think it's that valuable just to actually create the accounts for them. Setting the plan start date. From there, I would actually keep that manual just because it's going to change from person to person what's actually going on. Booking the kickoff call. So booking the kickoff call, we can actually get this automated pretty easily and it doesn't actually affect for the client. But actually doing the kickoff call, that's what's really going to be important. Sending the what's next / kind of orientation, like that kind of stuff. I don't think you actually need to be doing that yourself. But if we do all these things, so we keep this stuff here the way it is, and then we automate all of the stuff down here on the bottom right, we are going to be able to spend way more time on this and then actually doing the kickoff call with them. So imagine if you took all this time here that you saved on this stuff and then spent that actually speaking to the client during the onboarding process. Do you think that they would have a better client experience? Of course they would. So let's go through another example here of check-ins. So we're going to use the check-ins as an example here. So sending check-in reminders out to all the clients, absolutely not. Get rid of that. Chasing the people who have not completed the check-in takes a lot of time to chase those people up, and it is not that valuable to the client. From there, the client rates of the week, red, amber, green, getting them to do like a self-reported one like that. I think that if you can get them to do it automatically, it's going to help you assess what kind of questions to look at and kind of ask them. So I would say put that in there for automatically asking them a red, green, amber. Pulling the live training and nutrition. If you were to do that manually, if you were to go into the client and pull all their details onto a spreadsheet before you've even analyzed any of that kind of stuff, that would take a long time. Yes, it is very valuable to the client to see that kind of stuff. So we'll put that up here as 4. I'll tell you a kind of solution for that now in a minute. Asking adaptive follow-ups. This is something that takes a lot of time and it is high value. So I would probably put it somewhere in between, probably somewhere in between here. And we'll talk about that now in a second. And then you have like client submits. That's fine. And then we have the building the feedback dashboard. That would take a super amount of time and it would be super valuable to the client. So we have 7. From there, then reading their week, we're going to keep that the exact same way that you currently do it. Drafting the reply, we are going to keep that. Like, yes, the replying to clients takes a long time, but it's super valuable to them. Personalize and send, we're keeping that all the same. From there, you'll log the commitments. I would actually automate this because it takes a lot of time. And then from there, it's not actually that valuable into the next week for them. And then adjusting the plan, we are going to keep that manual here. And then from there, triaging who actually needs a call. This would take a lot of time, but it's going to be super high valuable for you, but not really for them. So we're going to put this on 13 here. Now, the reason that we're going to automate some of these, that we're going to systemize some of them, and then we're going to keep them manual is all because of what it's actually going to do. So for example, here, all of these here in the automate, we're going to automate that so that you don't have to do it. But the stuff in the systemize, like here, number 5, asking the adaptive follow-ups. We don't need to necessarily automate that, but in your check-in process, you could have it assessing how they're answering the question. If they select this, then it's going to trigger extra follow-ups or extra questions based off that, rather than the same 10 questions. For everybody using like the smart check-in system, you'll be able to do a much better one. And then if you automate and systemize these, that gives you so much more time to focus on all this stuff here and really give more effort. So I don't give a shit. If you say that, oh, you shouldn't do any of this part here, it's not, you should go gather the data yourself, you are not spending as much time as you could be in this quadrant up here. It's just the reality of it. So that is why you have to follow this actual process. And so by following that automation matrix, we're really making sure that only the things that should be automated get automated. So we're not completely automating like check and replies, but we're grabbing all the data from their coaching app and putting that next to their check-in questions. So when you open up a client's check-in, you have it there in front of you. You have all their stuff there. So if you are like, oh, you shouldn't add in automation to check-ins, it's not adding automation to the actual check and reply. It's adding the automation there so that you can coach them better. So we're only automating what should be automated. Look, depending on where you are with your business right now, the amount of clients, the amount of staff, the structure of it, you might not actually need some of this stuff. But chances are, if you're in this video right now and you're still here watching, you've nodded your head along, you're like, yeah, I gotta do that. You probably have some stuff you need to automate, systemize, delegate. You definitely need to go through your automation matrix to figure out what is actually going to be done for all of these. And look, the honest answer is, with capacity, I don't like to try to put in like fake scarcity to be like, hey, we only have 5 people left and everything like this. But it changes from time to time. We work with all our clients on a one-to-one basis where we actually build out all the projects with them. So sometimes we have much meatier projects that we're hired to go do. Like we have a mentorship that is building out like a massive kind of project with us right now. So at the moment, that's taking up a lot of the time. So there's not too much capacity. Other times there's going to be more capacity. So there's no real urgency on that. But if you did want to see what it would actually be like to work with us, this is the process that you would go through next. So what we just did there with the automation matrix of going through and seeing what needs to be automated, systemized, and delegated, we'll basically do all of that through all the areas of your business. We'll actually do the full roadmap of those 10 essential systems, and then we'll see what else we should actually be building to make the business exactly the way you want it to be. Because at the end of the day, we want to save you more time, we want to get you better delivery, and then from there, build the business into something that you enjoy a little bit more every day. So the way the call would work is we'd sit down, we'd map out all of this, and then from there, you'd have a roadmap of exactly what we would implement first, all the systems that we would build. And then if we decide to work together, great. If not, you're still going to have a roadmap of exactly what you need to do. So if that is something that you want to do, you can click the link in the description below. It's going to bring you over to the next page, fill in a few details, and then you'll be able to book your systems audit. And we'll actually sit down and do this with your business together.